Hey guys, have you ever thought about the current situation of the economy? The rising house prices, harder dating market, conflicts, loneliness epidemic. Who knows what's gonna happen in the future, right? And everyone seems to expect more from you. And at the same time, everything just seems so uncertain. So, why suffer? This is one of the main questions that people have been asking for so long. And my world is already on fire. And I just spawned in. Okay, now let me first of all, what do I start with? Let's start with getting some wood. How about that? You sit here at like 3 a.m. at night probably, thinking to yourself, why do I have to suffer for all this? Like, why go through all this pain and uncertainty and suffering when things just seem so impossible? Like, what's the why in all this? What's all the reason to keep going, Now, believe it or not, you're not the first person thinking about this. I mean, many philosophers and even billionaires today thought about this a lot. For each point that they progress through in their career, they had to really find a reason to keep pushing. Because imagine, it's not just hard to do what you're doing now and just to keep studying or keep working your normal job, but imagine having to run a whole company, right? Imagine running a whole company where people depend on you, where things keep getting harder, and you can, like, it's not really easy to just say, to just get some help from someone to solve your problems. And it's just a lot of work. It's a lot of stress, and so yet those people keep going, and they better have a good reason why, because even for those people, it's not easy to keep going, and you're not in the same position, and they were once in your position too. Those billionaires, you might not want to be a billionaire. That's completely fine. I'm not saying you should. Beautiful. But they were once in your position, and they had to go through your uncertainty too. There's no doubt that the current situations are very hard on the youth like us. We wouldn't know how we're gonna get our careers. AI could replace our jobs, and it's pretty complicated. But they went through similar uncertainties back then, and it wasn't easy for sure. And I'm saying this because every single person probably at some point in their life have thought of a why, and it's not a simple thing to really just give in and think about, So why do we suffer? Why should we suffer? Well, I want to start by saying at least that there's a Buddhist saying, and I may butcher this, but they say in life you're guaranteed only two things, or you're entitled to only two things, and that is suffering and death. Now, that may sound kind of dark even, and in some way I agree. It may sound dark, it may sound almost kind of hopeless, but actually there's kind of two ways to think about this, or different ways to think about this. One is that everything else that you're given is a gift. You can think of it as a gift, because if you're entitled to only suffering and death, then anything else you get from it is a gift, or or something that you're lucky to have. And it's kind of hard to think about that sometimes when all these bad things are, around you. But there's beauty in that, and that's where people find their reasons to keep pushing and to do what they want to do. I think it's not easy to look at your situation when you're just starting college or maybe in high school, to keep pushing through all this that life throws at us. And I think one of the main reasons is that, I mean, situation might definitely be way harder for us than for our ancestors. But even if the world was always suffering, and really, if you think about this, by comparison, the world was way harder, for our ancestors. If we skip a few hundred years back, things were much, much harder. Situations were much harder, and people still push through for some reason. I'm not saying that our suffering doesn't matter right now. It's all relative at the end of the day. But what I'm trying to say is that those people did eventually find a reason why. What are those questions that they've asked, and what answers did they find at the end of the day? And there's some... I think there's a village nearby. Let's dig ourselves into a hole. My mouse is a bit broken, so my mouse wheel sometimes just moves in a way that I don't want it to move. For this, just pause for a second. The first time I played Minecraft, I did not know you could do cobblestone. Charcoal. And it was so scary because I heard all these sounds and I made myself a hole, and I didn't know that I could just create some charcoal, and I was sitting there in darkness until the night came in. Is it just me, or other people also had the same experience? It was terrifying. The first night in Minecraft was terrifying. It's a horror game, if you don't know about it. So what kind of questions did they ask themselves that they've actually answered and found a reason to keep going? That's a beautiful soundtrack, by the way. And I think some of the typical ones might be, family, like they want to do something for their family. But I think that's not enough, because there's so many different possible answers. That someone can give, honestly, to this. And there's just lots of different answers for these questions. So let's just think about it. I think when you were a child, before society has stripped you away from your dreams and wonder and creativity and adventure and just sense of exploration and wanting to find something in life, before life has taken away that away from you, you had something to live for. I think as children, assuming that your childhood was a decent one, mine wasn't that great. It wasn't too horrible, but there were challenges there too. And even then, I found certain things I was living for. If we break it down further, there are gonna be positive reasons and negative ones as well. Oh, this is gonna hurt. Okay, that was a mistake. To fight like this without a shield and armor. I haven't played Minecraft for a minute, I'm not gonna lie, and here I'm jumping into modpack. So there's gonna be positive reasons and negative reasons. The hardest time to find a reason is when you're so deep into negative emotions that you just lose hope. And that's not true for all of us, you know. I mean, that's, I guess, when you get depressed, like actually depressed, not the word that we use casually to say, oh, I'm feeling depressed, but like real depression that genuinely sucks life out of you, and light too. You know, when you're fully depressed, you really lose all connection to meaning in life, and you have no hope. And when you have no hope, it's hard to do anything. But if you're not at the end of that spectrum, then you can even use a negative reason to keep pushing yourself forward. But I think even in those cases, if all you see is pain in front of you, then it's very easy to lose any reason to live. Because why should you keep doing what you're doing, keep working and putting effort into what you're doing, studying, working, and so on and so forth, when it's all not gonna matter, when all that awaits you is pain. And that's tricky, because I think that everyone needs some kind of light that they're looking for, something that they want to build or do, or something that brings them joy. It could be as simple as spending time with friends, or could be something like art, but if you don't have connection to that thing, then the only thing that you think of is pain. There's no reason to work for all of that. For example, I mean, if you're a parent, and I know many of you aren't, but if you imagine if you would be a parent, you would bear through almost any pain just to take care of your family, because you love them so much and you love spending time with them, and you want the best for them, and it brings you joy to work that hard and push through all those difficulties. It might be your friends even, it might be the thing that you're striving for. But if there's nothing that you enjoy in life, that you really want to get to, then working for all these things seems like just pain only. And it's tough, man. And I think the way our school systems are created, that make you just listen to what teachers say and focus on studying only in grades that apparently determine how good you are as a person or something, which is completely bullshit. But apparently, if those things determine how worthy you are, you have to stress about this grade and what teachers say and whether you've done your homework or not, and you have no time to really socialize that much, in class, and maybe you've forgotten about your wonders that you had as a kid that kind of opened your eyes about the world in a way that lighted up your eyes. So if you feel down, if you feel like life is impossible, well, it's not, which I know it sounds like, oh yeah, easy for you to say. It's not. I mean, it can definitely be harder. I think, especially more so in America, from what I hear, and other. Well, I guess that's the village over there. Let's go. And other some Western countries. Not all countries are this bad, but if you live in a country where everything seems just getting worse, I feel you. And at the same time, if you find a reason to keep going, if you find a reason to make your life passionate, you can start thinking about building your life around it. Unfortunately, life doesn't, I know this may sound a little bit cruel, but unfortunately life doesn't really care about how hard it is and how you feel exactly, but it is mostly free to play. It's, well, as in, it's an open world sandbox. You can decide to pursue a career, you can decide to save up money and move out and start traveling. I think most of the time we limit ourselves more than we think. I mean, if if your passion is art, why not? Oh shit, this guy's hurt. Why not just draw in your free time and see if you really enjoy that? And if it does bring you joy, then there's nothing wrong with going to work and being able to support yourself. And eventually you may be able to support yourself through just doing art. At which point, now you're doing everything for your passion. Of course, you have to bring in, a touch of realism and understand that some careers are going to, be very tough to make money off. I wouldn't really think about it's definitely worth thinking about what is viable as a career. We saw a sign around here, I think. So we're on an island. Amazing. Let's go back and see exactly where it is. So, you should throw in a touch of realism and kind of slap yourself in the cheeks, both of the cheeks, and really think about, like, hey, is this actually a viable, thing for me to do? Am I, Nickel? Am I, not overextending myself? Can I really earn well from being an artist? And, okay, never mind. And, in case of art, it's not really, I wouldn't actually do it, until you're really, really good. And, if you're really good and you have a unique style and you know kind of how to get attention on the market, for example, then you can be a successful artist who makes a lot of money. On the other hand, if you're not making a lot of money from that, then you should find a different place to make money from, because otherwise your life is going to be very tough. And maybe that's okay with you, and that's where having a very solid reason why and understanding what you're doing and for what reason is very important. So think about, why should I suffer? What is the reason for me to keep going? Because there's a lot that you could do in life, and I mean, just think about it. As I said, life is an open world. Oh, my game crashed and the mod pack didn't work anymore, so I had to start another one. um, that happens. So as I was saying, life is an open world game, and it definitely helps to think about it that way, because if you take a second and really kind of imagine it as like, wait a second, I can actually do anything I want. Like, nobody's really stopping you from like doing almost anything. Now there are consequences of laws and stuff like that, so and I'm not really condoning anything illegal, but you could do whatever you want technically, and especially if it's legal, you could definitely do whatever you want. So if you kind of just for a second, imagine that there's no limitations and you can do anything. If it's possible, you can do it. Then I think you'd really open up your possibilities, because there's just so much to do. I mean, there's so many cool things to do, and once you really think about it that way, then it's so much easier to be excited about life. You would actually start thinking about what do you want to do, and how you want to go about it, right? What's important to you, and not be so stuck in life being so bad and being so hard. It's always been hard, that's the truth. I think we need some correct perspective here. Life is always suffering, it always has been, and it always will be. But at the end of the day, actually, a lot of suffering is your choice. The more you fight the pain, the more suffering you get. Well, like in reality, there is a lot of suffering, but most of it is in your head. So pain is real, but suffering is in your mind. Because the more you fight that pain, the more you give it power, the more you try to resist it, that's when it becomes suffering. For example, if you're getting an injection, like you're taking a blood test, for example, this is me included, to be honest. I'm guilty of this. Is you might be really overthinking it. You might be thinking so much about oh, this is gonna hurt, it's gonna be painful and stuff. But once you stop thinking about it and you just accept that the pain is gonna come and it's just gonna hurt a bit, and then you can move on, you'll actually not be so bad. Like, you get a little bit of pain and that's it, and like you get your blood and then you go back to normal, and that's it. Like, it just goes away in a moment. But you might be having so much suffering just because you think about it, just because you add anxiety into the mix, and you just like try to push away the pain. But as soon as you accept it, just feel it, just accept it, just okay, it's gonna come and I cannot do anything about it, and this is what it is. The sooner is going to be much easier for you to live a normal life. So that's why the sooner you accept it, the less pain you're gonna have. And also, suffering is there to make us grow, for us to have meaning in life. Without suffering, I don't really think we would really enjoy life at all, because what else is there other than like pain and then pleasure? Without pain, without suffering, I don't think we would really have any pleasure, right? There are people who just don't care about anything, and they don't care about pain, and they don't care about pleasure, right? Some people just get that way because of traumatic experiences. Some people get that way because they meditated for 100 years. But at the end of the day, that's what happens. You stop caring Well, some people, it's a bit different if you've been meditating. I have not experienced that, but I'm sure it's a bit different than becoming nihilistic. Either way, you wouldn't feel pleasure if you don't feel pain. So suffering is very important to our existence, and I think it's very important to really accept it. And more importantly, if you haven't thought about what is it that you want to do, then you'd be stuck just living life in suffering. And no wonder. I mean, if you were playing Minecraft without thinking what you want to do, and you're simply getting eaten by mobs, right, when night comes, no wonder you don't enjoy it. No wonder you feel bad. Of course. You know, it's otherwise it's always just pain. But you know, if we use honestly, games, they really feel a lot like real life. Like there's so many parallels to games, and once you really like think about Minecraft, let me do this. Once you really think about it, once you really think about life as a game, imagine it as Minecraft, you could really start thinking about all the things you can build, right? And yes, life can be very hard, but it can also be very rewarding. It can be very beautiful, just like the sunset. There's so many things to appreciate, I think, just for our existence. And yes, the price... Is that a dirt hut? The price is suffering. Oops. It's kind of hard to avoid that. But I really urge you guys to think about all the possibilities. And even if things are so hard, you know, for example, getting a house, and you might be living in a place where things are so difficult. Huh. Okay. It's a dirt hut. Okay, I might actually live here. Let's build this up a little bit. I am not that good at building, to be honest, but I'm gonna try my best. There's just so much to do in life that thinking only about suffering and pain is just gonna be, well, painful. I really urge you guys to think about more about all the cool things you could do, and then it really becomes worthwhile to push through the pain and do something epic and cool. And you know, believing in that is definitely hard. I'm not gonna claim that it's easy to do certain things, but there's gotta be a way to do it. Most of the time, maybe getting a place in a certain state in America is hard. You could move to another state, or maybe you really want a house in that state. Well, that could certainly be possible as well. You just have to find a way and build a path. You know, maybe it'll take you longer than what you think, but eventually you could do it. And that's not the only thing you can do as well. There's just so many different things you could do with your time and with your life, that life is just not worth wasting on suffering, or just thinking about only suffering. You know, we suffer to live. I think that is my answer to why to suffer. And why to live, that's a question that you can answer yourself. Just think about what you want to do and go for it. And if you're not sure, explore yourself and explore what you want to do, and eventually you'll get into it. So I hope that helped you guys, and see you next time.